Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom.
Honey, it tastes great, it's good for you, and it lasts forever. Join me for a look at beekeeping.
That's the queen in there. And I'm going to lay this right at the bottom of the hive, so as soon as the bees pile in on it, they'll know that the queen is in there. And the pheromone tells the bees that are in the air that that queen is in there.
9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. "906 Outdoors" is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours.
Bees and honey. How does it all work? I had the opportunity to get a glimpse into the unique and amazing world of bees and beekeeping with UP beekeeper Mike Holmes.
Beekeeping has been around since they've taken honey out of Egyptian tombs. So it's been around for thousands of years. I've been a beekeeper for 29, just my 29th year, actively keeping bees, and I helped a friend for 4 or 5 years with his bees before I had my own bees. The bees, you can order them, and for the Upper Peninsula, we generally order them in January, early February. The bees that we get are generally taken from either the Georgia area for the pollination or the almond crop after the almonds have been, the pollination has been done with the almond trees. And this is the way you get them. What we're going to do is, I've got frames that I've used over the years, and these are already drawn out. That means that we'll have a sheet of a foundation of wax, just a sheet of wax in there, and then they'll build these cells on it. And they're dark because there's microscopic cocoon, the shell of it, and what the bees do is they go in and they clean all this stuff out. And as soon as it's nice and shiny, the queen will get in there and she'll lay eggs. This winter was critical, last winter too. You generally lose the bees unless you do a lot of extra wrapping of the colonies, but still that's up in the Upper Peninsula. When you got 30 below zero, that lasts for a while, or 20 below zero for several days. Or if you've got your beehives in a position like it's out in the open, that wind chill will actually kill them, because the bees that you go into the winter with aren't the same bees you come out in the spring with. The only bee that in a beehive, honeybee hive, even hornets or wasps, are the queens. That's the only ones that live year round. And the queen will lay during the winter up until December in our area, our region, and then she'll quit laying. And when that queen quits laying, it takes 21 days before that last egg will hatch. And as soon as that hatches into a bee, the hive temperature, which is normally when there's eggs and larvae in it, is 96 to 98 degrees. As soon as that last bee hatches, in 3 weeks after she quits laying, the hive temperature drops down to about 68 degrees. And she won't lay until for probably another month, 4 or 5 weeks, depending on how many bees are in the colony. And then what happens is that she'll lay that first egg, and when she lays that first egg, they can regulate their heat so well that the hive temperature, drop or increases back to 96 to 98 degrees, because that's the temperature that they need to grow their brood, rear their brood.
"906 Outdoors" is brought to you in part by Orion Hunting Products.
Inside the cluster of bees right here, this little thing that is hanging, you'll see this little metal ribbon. In there, hanging to that, is this. That's what the queen comes in. The queen, she's in this all by herself. She's already mated and she's all set to go. And she's hanging down there, and all those bees are clustering around to keep her warm. The bees that we get come from multiple colonies because, you know, when they're filling this, they just go through the different hives, and they all are interested in bees. They've already had queens, so the new queen has to be in a cage, and they'll accept her after they feel that they don't have their old queens. And it'll take 3 or 4 days to be shipped to the beekeeper, and by that time, the queen, her own pheromone or odor, will be on every one of the bees in here. So they recognize that. And that's how they go back to the same colony. And any bee that has a different pheromone or a different odor will not be allowed in the colony. Right in the middle of the honey flow, and the honey flow is whenever a major nectar is coming in, they will escort a bee in from another colony. They'll take the nectar from it, and then they'll escort it back out. They won't allow it to be in there. On each one of these, I've got a tray with sugar syrup inside, and that's because of the weather here. They can't get out to get the nectar, so they're going to be, you got to feed them. This is foundation. This is what we put in if you're a new beekeeper, or just when we're looking through our hives and we've got old comb that doesn't look any good anymore. And you can have old comb, same comb for 10, 15 years if you want. And they just build out on that. And that's what we call foundation. It's the foundation for the honeycomb. The first thing you do, you want to get that whole bunch of bees that are around on the top of the box and around the queen. We want to get them away from it. Give it a sharp hit. And now I'm going to take this queen out. There may be some bees that'll come with that because her pheromone, but that's the queen in there. She keeps going back and forth, and what you don't want to do is have her fly off because you've just lost your queen and you got a problem. Now, in the end of it, here's that cork, and then you put your finger over it quickly, and then I'll take a mini marshmallow, put that marshmallow over the hole, and squeeze it in. Remember, marshmallow's made of sugar, and the nectar that they're collecting is made of sugar. And I'm going to lay this right at the bottom of the hive. So as soon as the bees pile in on it, they'll know that the queen is in there. And the bees will immediately they'll lift up on their back legs, and they'll start fanning over their thorax, and they have a pheromone, and a pheromone tells the bees that are in the air that queen is in there. You give them a little shot, and then you go like this. Give them a good shake. They're not aggressive when they're doing this because they don't know where the queen is. They don't have anything to protect. And there's not many bees left in there. Then you just set that in front of the hive. The remainder of the bees will go back in. And then you take your frames, put them back in. What's going on right now is like saying they're fanning. That pheromone is going out to tell the bees that are in the air from that colony is that she's in there. That's where she's located right now. And you just put that on like that, and put that on, and you secure the top. That way the wind won't blow it off. So now they've collected all the nectar and brought it in and produced it into honey. And so what we're going to be doing today is showing the procedure for taking the honey off, and then we'll go to my place and we'll actually extract it and then bottle it, and you'll see the whole process. So when you do buy a bottle of honey, you'll know exactly what the procedure is for us, a small beekeeper, to put the honey in the jar. So first thing, whenever you look into your beehives, unless they're real aggressive, and occasionally they are aggressive during the summer to make sure that their progress is going good, you'll use smoke. Generally, you really don't have to if you work slowly and gently. But whenever you get in and deal directly with all the bees that are in there, you've got to take a little bit extra steps. And in this case, what we're going to do is we've got a smoker, and all we're doing is telling the bees at the entrance to the colony that, all right, we're here, we're gonna be bothering you, because their instinct is to go in and start collecting honey in their sac. So basically you're just distracting them and keeping them busy while you're stealing their honey. Secondly, what we're going to do is these are called fume boards. And what we have in this bucket is a substance called BeeGo, and it's made by the beekeeping companies. And what it is, it stinks, but it drives the bees off of the honey boxes, or the honey supers as we call them. And it drives them down so there's not a lot of bees left on top of those, of the intermediate supers. And so we can take a lot fewer bees back to the area where we're going to be extracting. So we'll start that, and all we do is spray this on. It doesn't hurt the honey, it's not a carryover. It stinks.
906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Blades Bait and Tackle, your year-round connection to fishing bait Enoch.
When you're taking the honey off the bees, you always want to have it somewhere about over 60 degrees. Today it was 76 already, and it's an ideal day. Why you want to have that type of situation is that the majority of the working bees are out foraging, and the less bees that you have to deal with, the easier, and a lot less bees are going to be around. And it's easier to take the honey without gathering any stings. So you'll light the smoker. I like to use burlap. Burlap smolders, doesn't burn as fast. And you just put it in the smoker like that. Give it some puffs, some oxygen. And then the next thing I do is just get some grass. And what it does is, as the smoke passes over this, it cools it so it's not real hot to the bees that you're going to be smoking. So then we close it, and now we got smoke coming out. The reason we keep the tops of the hives slanted like that is that on a hot day, what the bees do is there's an air conditioning. They all stand on their front legs and they fan their wings so they got ventilation. There's two reasons for that. One, the nectar that comes in is about 70% water, and they're evaporating that. So that's what you're getting. Also, it's cooling at the same time. Evaporation is a cooling process. So, and another thing, this time of the year, you'll see this when you pull the hive apart. You'll see this sticky stuff right here, and that's called propolis. Right now, the leaves on the trees, the deciduous trees, are ready to fall. Already, the bud for next year has been, created, and it's covered with this stuff, and it's called propolis. It's sticky, and the bees are smart enough that they bring this back to their hives and they seal everything, so there's no air getting in. And they usually get it from maple trees, or they even will take some from the pine trees and things like that. But it's sticky. Every single lady who puts on rouge, eye shadow, anything like that, there is propolis in that. This one has a little bit on. Usually as you work down on the boxes, because obviously the bottom ones they fill first. Okay, but so I'm going to put this back on. I'm going to get the fume board. That'll take a few minutes. Honeybees will go up to 4 miles to collect nectar. The more wildflowers that you have, or in this case, if you're by a field within 4 miles of alfalfa or clover fields, you're going to get more honey, because the closer you are to that nectar source, they don't have to go that far. They can fill that nectar sac, which is 1/5000th of an ounce. You can see how the bees are exiting the colony now, because of that BeeGo. They're trying to get away from that smell. When they collect it, they bring it in their stomach. It's called a honey stomach. And there's a process that starts there. And it has to be right down about 17% moisture content before they actually turns into honey. And at that point, they know what that percentage is, and that's when they cap it. And the capping is just like if your grandmother, she made preserves, and then they poured wax over it to seal it. Same difference. And you can start to hear how the buzzing is increasing because they're trying to get that smell from that BIGO out of there, and at the same time they're pushing that down to the lower boxes. And you can see when I took that first one off, all the bees that were on it. Well, those bees won't be on these after that BIGO gets down there. Pump it vigorously. Okay, there you go. Let's see what we got up here. All right, you'll see here now I've taken that bee go off of there, and I'm going to take this, and you'll see there's no bees in here now. You see? Just a few coming out. I usually take 2 or 3 boxes. You'll see the next box doesn't have any bees in it. So the BIGO has done its job. Ugh, God. And these things are up to 60 pounds when you're taking them off. Get this one off too. That.
906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Christ, your Northwoods neighborhood store.
What we're doing is you gotta break the tops of the cells. You don't want to press really hard, but you want to have firm. What you want to do is only break the tops. You don't want to break a lot of the cells. And then we bring that over and we put it in. That's what you want to see on a frame. It's full and it's wide. We use 9 frames in a 10-frame box, and so they'll put more honey in it, and then it's easier to uncap. And drop it in here. It's a centrifugal. It spins it out. The comb, the cells themselves, they're not straight in, they're at an angle. And so it stays in there. So what we do, once we uncap it, we put it like this, because those cones, the cells are kind of like this now. So as it spins, the centrifugal force will draw that honey out of the cone. There's honey in this, and what we'll do is that the honey drains off and goes into the bucket. What little comes off of that's stuck to the caps. The only way they make a queen is an egg that is 3 days old or younger, and it's how much honey and pollen and then that substance, that royal jelly that they get from the new bees, how much they feed the bees. That determines what kind of bee it's going to be. Drones are strictly an egg that's laid that's not fertilized, but all the other ones have been fertilized. And a queen she'll go up and she'll mate with numerous drones in the summertime, one time, and she'll store those in her body for as many years as she's going to be active. Now these bullet-shaped ones are drones. If you look close, you can see they're hatching and they're moving around there. And those are drones, and those are destined to die because this time of the year. Okay, we're ready to get the merry-go-round going. From there, what we do is we pour that in here and we let it set for about 4 days, and all the comb that was extracted with that, all the dead bees and everything else. Honey is so heavy that there's nothing that can't be suspended in it. So we've got a layer about 1 inch or 2 thick up on top with all the the things that were suspended in it. Okay, and then then what we do is we put it, and that is raw honey. So it's raw honey. You can't get any. This is the purest type of honey you can get. I know a lot of people when we're at the farmer's market ask, is this raw honey? It's raw honey. And from there, I'll take it downstairs, and that's where the bottler is. And then I'll pour it into the bottler. The one important thing about honey is that you never put it in the refrigerator, because it'll crystallize a lot faster when it's in the refrigerator. But if you freeze it, because it won't crystallize when it's in the freezer. And then when you get down almost out of that quart, then you can take another one out. It only takes an hour for it to get liquid again. If it does crystallize, all you have to do is take a pot of water and heat it, and not till it's boiling, just till you can see the little bit of a steam come off of it, I guess. And then take that off, and then put the container in there and let it set, and it'll come right back. It'll come right back to liquid.
Feel free to join us on Facebook or visit us at 906outdoors.com. Thanks for watching, and we invite you to join us next week for another adventure right here on 906 Outdoors.